Nick Pert with me today here in Hamburg. Thank you for joining in for this interview, Nick.
No, thanks for having me.
You are in Hamburg because why?
Well, apart from visiting yourself, of course, just to record some video courses for ChessBase. I'm doing a course on, well, it's a bit of an all-round course. I'm taking a selection of modern Grandmaster games, and I've broken them down into different themes and trying to find some common ideas that are coming up to explain to the viewers, whether it's within the opening or attacking the castle king or certain endgame positions, explaining a few games and then giving some interactive examples for people to have a go at themselves.
Great. How many Fritztrainers have you done so far? This is number, do you know? You don't know?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Quite a few.
Counting.
I think it must be about 15 or 16, I imagine. Yeah.
Excellent.
So quite a few. But I've had a bit of a break. I mean, there was a period I was coming every year, and then when COVID struck, I didn't do so many. I did, I think, one from home. I think the last time I was in Hamburg was 2019, so few years ago now.
Yeah, this is actually the first time we're meeting in person. We've had a couple of conversations already and a couple of interviews before on Zoom, but I'm very happy to finally meet you in person here. You were born in Ipswich.
Nearly. I wasn't actually born in Ipswich, but I moved there when I was very young. I think about 4 years old, I moved to Ipswich.
Ah, okay. Where were you born originally?
I think I was actually born in Leeds, so up north, but then my parents relocated down to Ipswich when I was very young. So
I see.
They're my first memories anyway.
How was growing up in Ipswich?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We were there for a few years, and there was quite a good local chess scene, so we got into playing chess. Yeah, quite enjoyed living in that area, so I liked it. My parents still live there now, so I still go and visit quite regularly. But
so when you're saying there was quite a chess scene, when was or at what age did you learn chess, and who taught you?
So I actually learned to play when I was 5 years old. And my father taught me, and he also taught my brother, and that's how we got into chess, because we're twins, as you know, so we were quite evenly matched, and we would just practice with each other when we were children. I mean, after a while, we were able to beat our father, and then he started putting us into some of the local chess tournaments. And it just so happened that a chess coach actually lived on our road, Kevin O'Connell, who was quite a good player. I imagine he was probably about 2,300 level, something like that, so quite an established player. And I think he's involved with FIDE, so he was quite into chess. And he used to teach us. We'd go there once a week, and there were some good local organisers. We played the local scene there, and quickly sort of progressed on to playing against the adults in the local area. And I think one of the main reasons actually for moving area was when I was 12 years old. I played in the 3 kind of major championships they had in the area, which were I think the Suffolk Closed Championship, the Suffolk Open Championship, and the Ipswich Club Championship. I think there were 3 main events, and I won all 3 of them against the kind of local adult players. So that was quite nice. And it wasn't really like it is now, where you can just go online and play whoever you want to play. If you want to play players that are stronger than you have to live close to them. And if there were no stronger players in the area, then you're obviously limited in that sense.
When you say you grew up in Ipswich, your father taught you chess and your brother too. Just a quick question, who's the older one of you two?
Well, he's slightly older by a few minutes. But
all right. So my one thing which is on my mind since I ever met you and I knew about you and your twin brother is, of course, how did you get along with him and chess together? Was there something like a rivalry, or was there even like working together, or both, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure about like working together. Probably was more rivalry, to be honest. Trying to, I mean, okay, there was a time we would practice together. I mean, we don't really practice now, but there was a period where we do that. But we didn't really work together on chess. It was more maybe somebody to motivate each other to improve, I guess, rather than, and obviously someone to practice with. But I didn't really work together on openings or anything like that with him. I mean, occasionally we might discuss something, but it wasn't. I mean, because he was the person I was fighting against, he wasn't the first person I probably would work with in that sense.
Oh yeah, I can, just from my imagination, it must feel almost a bit brutal because, of course, there's two boys and you're both very good at chess, and then one of them is, most of the times, you were the stronger chess player, I assume, or was it quite equal?
I think, yeah, probably from quite a young age, I got slightly ahead of him. But, I mean, we've always been quite closely matched, but I would probably say maybe around 10 or 11 years old, something around that age, I got slightly ahead of him. And then I was probably selected for more events because of that. When we were younger, we had quite a strong age group when we were younger, so we had a lot of players that are now gone on to become IMs at least, and one or two Grandmasters as well were around our age group, and they would just select one junior for the World Youth and one for the European Youth each year, so it was quite competitive to get into this tournament, because I think nowadays countries would send more than one player to these events, but back then it was just one player. So I was getting selected most years and he didn't get selected as much. So probably I had more opportunities than he did during those childhood years.
Did you ever think that it could have also gone the other way around, that maybe your brother would have come ahead with chess and then he would have been selected, maybe even also get a higher title or something like that?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, I was probably like slightly ahead of him in school as well, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, of course, he could have progressed faster than me. I didn't know which way it was going to go. We just, we just played for fun, and what happens.
Was there, or like, I mean, probably you can't tell, but do you think you know the reason why you were, for example, a bit better in chess, a bit better in school? Was there anything he could beat you in, or he was better in?
I don't know, actually.
The brutal truth unfolded.
Maybe it was. I mean, we were very closely matched at everything. It's not like I was, I don't know, if you pick like a random subject or a random sport or something, I'm sure that, there's some things that he's better than me at. We were always quite closely matched, whatever we did.
Gotcha. How did, I mean, I would have asked him myself, of course, but what do you think, how did he feel about being like just one step, behind you?
But, I mean, probably it's a little bit difficult for him. We've actually got quite different personalities. Like his personality is a lot more, like I'm the best, this, that, and the other. He thinks he's really quite sort of. I don't know, not really, he just sort of puts himself out there, he sort of states himself to be like quite good. It's almost, he works for the city, that kind of personality where you kind of have to, sort of show yourself to be really good and talk himself up a lot, that kind of personality. Whereas my personality would be more like reserved. I would respect my opponents a lot. I would think, oh, this person is very good because of this, that, and the other. I wouldn't think, oh, it's an easy game kind of thing. So it was slightly different in that sense. And I don't know whether that's to do with the childhood or why that is. But he's obviously like very good at everything that he does as well.
Oh, that's interesting. It's actually quite fascinating, I have to say. Yeah. Then let's keep let's go a bit on. So you won those tournaments in your youth, and at one time in your childhood, you realized, like when your father taught both of you chess, you got this. You understand how chess is working. You know how the moves are going. You are good at it. What was this pivotal moment where you knew this is actually something I would like to do as often as possible?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I never considered being a chess professional. Oh. I don't know whether it was the age we grew up in, but my parents were not really that keen on me pursuing it as a career. And so, yeah, when I went to university, there was, and it's the same for my brother actually. I think, but both of us. The drive came from kind of within. You know, we wanted to be good at chess, and they supported us a lot. They took us to all the events, and you know, they helped us get coaching and everything like that. But they probably just saw it more as a hobby, which you're good at, rather than as a profession.
Oh, okay.
And when I had finished. Well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself on your questions, but
no, don't worry. We can always paddle back a bit.
Yeah, when I sort of finished university, I was quite keen to pursue chess, at least as a sort of gap year. But because I had a degree and I had a job offer as well, I was a little bit more kind of forced down or encouraged to go down that route. So I didn't really. I mean, I see like the Indian grandmasters nowadays, and they identify them from a very young age. They don't even go to school. They end up, just studying chess and becoming phenomenally strong. But I did like a very tough degree, and then after I did a degree, I did some quite difficult jobs, quite time-consuming jobs, and then there would be exams. I think I did exams until I was maybe 30 years old, because I have all these exams. You'd have to study in the evenings, and you'd have to work during the day. So there was very little time for focusing on chess, and that is probably a bit of a regret that I have. That if I got to the level that I got to, if I had put more time into chess, I think I could have been a lot stronger. But I guess a lot of people have a similar thought to that. So.
True, yeah, of course, yeah. That this we will get to this too, of course, because that's probably one of the most important decisions in your life. So, as you already mentioned, just one last question about you, your brother, and your childhood. How did I was wondering, how did your parents deal with this rivalry? Did it ever get out of hand and they had to intervene, or were they like, that's how it is, that's how life is, and there's competition, and go for it?
I mean, they tried to be sort of like as fair as possible. I mean, we used to have this rule when we were children that if we played each other, we'd have to agree a draw, because they didn't want us to have arguments.
Oh.
So for a long time, we were doing that. I think actually it was actually one time. I mean, in general, I don't tend to do that well against him, but I think that the main catalyst, there was a selection event to decide who would qualify for one of these European Youth Championships, and I think I beat him in that tournament. And he was upset about it, and so they said after that, just agree to a draw, and that carried on for years. We just would always agree to quick draws when we played each other. But we did try and play one. I mean, he actually beat me in 2019. So I mean, I haven't really sort of established myself as the sort of the dominant player in our head-to-head meetings, but obviously against other players, I'm higher rated than he is, so I tend to do better against other players than he does.
So you played the successful tournaments in the school time, in the youth, and then you moved to a different school. You actually, as far as I understand, moved to two different schools. So one was in Oakham, and that was also a bit chess related. How come Oakham School?
Yeah, so Oakham at the time were offering chess scholarships, and I had suggested, they actually had a FIDE master there who was a chess trainer, so we'd have a lesson with him. I think it was only once a week we had the lesson with him actually, but it was better than nothing. And then there were some, local chess matches in the local league, so he would be involved in organising, you know, us to participate in a school team, and there were the sort of the national school championships that we took part in. But actually, Oakham has been quite big for chess. They have had a lot of strong players attend Oakham, well, for playing chess, not attend the school. I think they had some big Grandmaster events. I think Anand and people played there in the past. And then Garry Kasparov came and gave a simul there. So we played against him in a simultaneous exhibition. So I think there was about 8 of us playing, and
exciting.
It was it was good. It was a clock simul, and the idea was then from each year from then on, there was going to be a Kasparov chess scholar, and so it was going to be a child from Russia who was good at chess would come over, and they would get, because it was a boarding school, they would get kind of scholarship to the school, and that continued for a few years. But I think, I don't know, I guess the funding ran out, or they decided not to sponsor that, so that did actually stop. But they did it for a few years after he gave this this simultaneous. So yeah, it was quite big for chess. They hosted a couple of Grandmaster all-play-alls, which I played in, and I think both of them actually won the tournament, I think, but neither of them I got a Grandmaster norm. I think I got 6.5 out of 9 both times, and I needed 7 out of 9 to get the Grandmaster norm. So
this half point.
It was quite close. But yeah, there were many top, obviously many title players that were playing in these events.
At what age did you move to Oakham?
I think must be about 13 or 14 years old, something like that.
So for you who aren't from England or have no idea what cities we're talking about, Ipswich is kind of at the east part of when you look at London, or the east of England, and Oakham is kind of in the middle.
In the Midlands, yeah. I mean, when we went to Oakham, it was a boarding school. So when we were in Ipswich, we were just living with our parents, and then we went to boarding school in the Midlands.
Gotcha. And how was Oakham as a school? It looks beautiful from the images of what I saw.
Yeah, it was a nice school. It was quite, I mean, they kept you busy, put it that way. You had to do a lot of subjects and sports, and there was never a lot of free time. I guess that's the way it was designed. But no, it was a good school.
And at one point then, well, you were 17, 18, I guess, you went to Warwick University.
Yep, that's it, Warwick University.
Where is that located?
So that's also in the Midlands, and it was one of the better universities. I mean, my parents wanted me to try to get into Oxford or Cambridge, but I decided not to apply, which they weren't that happy about. But I didn't really want to go for the very elite universities, which I was okay with anyway. And I mean, Warwick, I think, is starting to get some chess following as well. I think they've got quite a good chess club in the university now. So. It was good. I quite enjoyed my time there, and they even held a British Championships there one year as well. I think maybe 2015. I think they had British Championships there.
How come you decided not Oxford, not the others?
I don't know. I think it just would have been. I probably didn't want to have to work, so hard to try to always, compete with other people who were super smart, and it wasn't really like a big driver for me to have to go to a top university. I'd rather be in a situation where I felt comfortable and I didn't feel out of my depth, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, no, of course. So quickly back to your brother again. Where did he go to, or what did he do in that time?
Yeah, he went to university as well. I think he went up to Sheffield University. So yeah, I think he enjoyed it there. We went and visited. I remember like one trip I went up there with, I think it was with Simon Williams, and I don't know if you know these Norwegian players, Torbjørn Hansen and Andreas Moen. We used to play. Torbjørn used to be, I think, the chess coach of Magnus Carlsen. Yeah. Which is actually quite surprising, because I always thought of him as a bit of a, kind of relaxed kind of personality, if that makes sense. To think that he trained like the best player in the world is quite sort of surprising.
That is something funny indeed.
But I mean, we had a lot of fun actually when we were younger. But I think that the like mentality of chess when I was with my friends was you go and enjoy yourself, and it wasn't so like hard working. There wasn't really that person there that would say, okay, come on, let's just start studying. It's just like, okay, we're going to have fun. We'll turn up at the game and see what happens, kind of thing. And it was nice. It was good fun. But maybe at the time, I look at the younger people today, and they look a lot more focused, and they were just working. They take it a lot more seriously. When I look at the sort of 20-year-olds nowadays, I probably would have appreciated if there had been a bit more kind of a drive in that direction rather than just, enjoy yourself and, see how you get on. But I guess, you look back and at the time you just go with the flow. So, yeah.
It's quite interesting that you're mentioning this because of the young players. Of course, there is this time and space we're living in where everything is so digitalized and people are sticking on the smartphone and all of this and getting distracted non-stop. Yeah. But actually, as you mentioned already, and as you said correctly, they are even more focused than back then in so many ways.
I think so. I think it's just so many more opportunities with the internet. I mean, in some ways, if I'd been born, 10 years later, you'd have this huge. I mean, actually, if you look at the top players in the world, they're all probably 10 years younger than me, so they probably. Benefited from this internet, and now you're having another generation of top players coming through. So it's just making the players stronger. I think all of the resources that are available to them.
Talking about internet, this is actually quite interesting. When was do you remember the first time you were meeting ChessBase or the ChessBase software?
Because actually when I was younger, I remember there used to be like you'd have the bulletins of the games, and you look in the bulletins, you could see what the people played, and then you'd maybe go and look for like a chess book, or you might ask someone to analyze a position with you. You wouldn't really have this ChessBase software. I'm trying to think when I started using it, but probably not till I must have at least been a teenager, maybe getting on towards 15, 16, I guess, before I even started to look at ChessBase, I guess.
15, 16. So now we're coming to another event, which I almost skipped, by the way. You also are actually a world champion. I didn't really know that.
I know. It's surprising. When I look at the list of like world champions, they're all very well-known names apart, and then I'm just sneaked in there somehow.
You did. It was the under 18 world championship.
That's right.
It was in Spain.
That's it.
Tell me about the tournament. How did you get there? How was your feeling? And that must have been a really special moment.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't supposed to go to that tournament. There was another player, Karl Marr, who's an international master now, and he was. We actually played in the under 14 championship, European championship, and he got the gold medal there. And I think I finished in 4th place. Okay, but his level probably hadn't increased as much as mine by that stage. I probably had overtaken him, but they picked him anyway because I was playing upper year group, so that actually would have been his year group, whereas I was actually 1 year lower. But I think I was probably already stronger than him by that stage. But for some reason, he wasn't able to go. I'm not really sure why. So I ended up going, and it was an interesting tournament. I didn't really think about winning the tournament throughout the whole event because I was something like 15th seed. So it wasn't really on my mind that I was going to win. I was just trying to play game after. It was only really the last round where I suddenly thought, actually, I could win this. The whole tournament, the whole tournament, I was just trying to think. I was just trying to survive each game. So it was, it really didn't cross my mind at all until the last round where I suddenly thought, actually, I'm actually in contention here.
Yeah, there were players like Lenier Dominguez.
Yeah, he was there.
You played him.
Yeah, I played him. He was a tough player. And I think I might have. I'm trying to remember that game. I remember I was under pressure the whole game, and it was just so much pain. I think I might have even got down to like rook and knight against rook or something like that at the end. It was just.
But you held it.
Yeah, I managed to hold the draw, but he was. He was a top seed, so that was a tough game. And I mean, there were a lot of other players that were, strong players. Most games I was playing. I mean, I think I was 24-15, something like that rating. I think I was just over 2,400. But most games I was playing players, about 100 points higher than me. So, yeah, it wasn't that you think, I'll just win this game, that game. Every game you're just thinking, okay, if I get a draw, that's not bad. But so I did end up winning a few of them.
For English or British event, it was quite successful because also in the women's section, what was her name? So
Ruth Sheldon.
Yes, yeah. She also won.
Yeah, she won. Yeah.
Wow, what is happening here in Britain? But after that, what happened there? Did did the chess explode for you a little bit more? Was this something where you thought like, actually, if I can even win a championship like this, maybe this is the path I'll take?
I mean, to be honest, I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity because I didn't really get any invitations off the back of it, which was... Yeah, I think nowadays people, if someone wins a tournament like that, they get heavily supported.
Indeed, yeah.
And when we were younger, I mean, I guess there was probably less support, but the support that the federation had was targeted on certain players. And I remember definitely in our youth, Luke McShane used to get a lot of opportunities. And I think we had a very strong age group, and perhaps the rest of us were somewhat overlooked. So he would get, the invitations to the big events or sponsorship or coaching with Spielman or, I don't know, newspaper columns or, whatever else it was. And so the rest of us were somewhat left to our own devices slightly more. So I probably didn't get, I don't really remember. I think I got a funding from Terence Chapman. I think he funded me, and I got to play a match against Murray Chandler. So that was quite good, actually, now I think about it. I think he might have given me £1,000 as a grant, which was obviously a lot of money for me at the time.
That was it.
And I played this match against Murray Chandler, so he sponsored that as well. So he did do something for me, actually. And that was quite an interesting match. So Murray Chandler was, I think he lives in New Zealand now as a Grandmaster. Yeah. And he was... I think maybe he was a bit higher rated than me, possibly to 2,550, something like that, maybe slightly below. And we played quite an interesting match at the house of Stuart Rubin, actually, which, was quite unusual. And it ended up being 3-3 in the end. So it was,
nice.
Yeah, lots of decisive games. We both kept winning with white and losing with black. So it was an interesting match anyway.
Okay.
That was good. That was a good experience. And I think I might have been invited to a knockout event. They had some knockout event in Southend, but I ended up getting knocked out in the first round.
That's why it's called knockout event after all.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You got it the hard way. Like this is how it is. So then let's talk about the studies again, because you were actually studying mathematics and risk.
Is that mathematics and statistics?
Statistics.
Yeah.
Okay. How did I get to risk? Because you wanted to pursue something about risk management or something?
I was studied as an actuary for a while.
Actuary. Okay. What can you please explain what that is? Because
that's
I've heard it the first time.
That's putting me on the spot. We dealt with. I worked in pensions. So we were just, trying to, value people's pensions and, looking at the pension funds and some of the regulation. And, then I got into the investment side of it as well. So instead of looking at the liabilities, looking at the cost to the funds to support these people in their old age, it was also looking at the investments and how you would invest the money to try to meet those costs and, which managers to invest with. I mean, it was fine. Like I sort of had a bit of a mathematical background, so it wasn't too bad. But I would say, well, I met some sort of friends through that work who I'm still in contact with now. And, it was quite a good sort of social scene. But in terms of the actual work itself, I didn't find it like that interesting, if I'm honest. I found it a little bit mundane, and so it was possibly because I spent quite a few years doing it between the two jobs. It must be most of my 20s. I feel like that was a bit of a wasted time in terms of, what I was actually studying. So I kind of regret a little bit.
What kind of jobs did you do besides that?
Well, actually, after that, there was one period where I think I worked in a hedge fund for about a year. And then I was on a temporary contract, and the sort of general market at the time was quite bad, so it didn't get renewed. But I think about a quarter of the city at the time had lost their jobs, so then I would find if I was going for a job which was maybe have been appropriate for me, I could have been up against people with like vastly more experience who were just trying to get anything, and there might be like 50 people applying for one place. So it was quite a frustrating time, and during that period I actually just started doing some chess teaching, and then I quite enjoyed it, and I just basically I just changed career almost by accident. I just decided to pursue the chess instead, and give up on this city life.
How did your parents deal with that? I'm asking because you already said like they weren't happy about it.
They probably weren't too keen at first, but then I don't know. They've sort of accepted it now. So,
that's great.
They didn't really have any choice. No, they've accepted it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, they've given me a lot of support throughout my life. So I mean, I can't say anything bad about them at all. No, they've really helped both myself and my brother, a lot. So
that's awesome. So then you decided, okay, it's chess time. So how did you go for it? Because it's difficult to be a chess professional. You had some students already, that's what you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you tried to find new students and get some jobs or something, or? It
was quite difficult, yeah. I mean, there was times where it was quite tough. I think when I first started, I remember a couple of weeks where I only had maybe 2 lessons in a week or something like that, and I was thinking, this is like not really
wrong decision.
Not really what I wanted to do. I wrote to some of the schools, so I teach in some of the school clubs, and I slowly started to pick up one or two schools. And when you get a school club, it's quite good because that's regular, it's guaranteed every week. So it took a while to build that up. But it's a highly competitive area. There are lots of people, not so many schools, and lots of people trying to get jobs in the schools. So it wasn't really that easy. I think some areas of the country, you could literally write to 10 schools and they'd all come back to you. But where we were, there was, a lot of competition in the local area. So
just quickly, what age were you at that time then?
So I was probably into my early 30s by that stage. But just bit by bit built it up. I guess when you go.
And where were you living at that time then?
So I lived in this town called Fleet, so basically around the kind of Berkshire, Hampshire, Surrey border around there. So just like the west of London. And it's quite a nice area, to be honest. So I quite like that area. And it's not as busy as London. Like London, I think would be, it's quite expensive, but it's also just quite busy to live in if you're in a big city. But at the same time, it's not too far away, so you can go in. I mean, I played in the London League for quite a few years now, and there was a period I was teaching in a school in London. So it's not too far away to commute in and out.
So you said you were in your early 30s. That was then, which year was this around roughly?
So probably about 2012 or 13 or something like that.
So then we have to go backwards because there was some other significant things happening in your chess life, though. Now, first of all, if I get this correctly, in 2010, you won at the Guernsey festival. Guernsey, for those of you who do not know, is one of the smaller two islands, Guernsey and Jersey, right?
Guernsey,
it's between.
Yeah, exactly. It's Guernsey.
Guernsey.
Yeah,
Oops.
there's Guernsey and Jersey. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it's called Guernsey. By the way, I'm saying it completely wrongly. It's one of the small islands located between England and France, and you won this tournament. But that is not the only, or I mean, that's great on its own, right? But if I read correctly, you were unbeaten since 2008 for over 52 games. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I had. I mean, I think the Guernsey tournament is a really nice tournament, but it's not probably the strongest. They tend to invite maybe 3 or 4 like title players, strong players, and then most of the other players are sort of amateur players. So yeah, it probably isn't as like spectacular as some of the tournament victories I've had, but you probably have to just negotiate against these other top players. But yeah, I had some big unbeaten runs. I think I might have had 2 runs of over 50 games unbeaten, and
massive.
Playing
You're
like
Iron Nick
top players. Yeah, I don't know if I've quite got the same. Yeah, I'm not quite as strong now as probably. But maybe I was probably my strongest. Yeah, around that sort of time, and I was going through British Championships and I was playing some good players, Michael Adams and Nigel Shaw and Gawain Jones, and some good players.
Yeah, very good, strong English team.
But then also like all the sort of standard grandmasters, your sort of Simon Williams, Mark Hebden, all these kind of similar level to me, or maybe tiny bit below me. Keith Farkle, all those kind of players. So I went for a long time. I mean, obviously a lot of the games were draws as well. I wasn't like turning these players over very often, but it was some quite good runs.
Yeah, I think that's quite impressive.
Yeah, where I was going unbeaten.
So then we continue. So it was like now it's around 2010, and you've played a couple of tournaments, but one of the big tournaments which you just couldn't win for a long while was the British Championship. And how many times did you attend?
No, I attended a lot of times actually, but actually my biggest regret was there was one year. There was one year when I was playing really, really well. I think it was either 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. I was on a really hot streak, and I think I'd won something like 7 games in a row against IMs or FM players, but like decent players.
7 games in a row you won? Yeah,
I won against them in the run-up to this tournament. And what I decided to do was, because obviously we talked about finances already. I had some students at the time, and they wanted me to teach at the event, so I'd agreed to coach. I'd agreed to coach at this this event, this British Championships, and I wasn't going to play. I was going to teach because it was guaranteed income rather than playing. But then as I was getting close to the event, I was winning all these games. I was playing so well, and David Howell was playing. He was a top player, but after him, there wasn't really any other like strong players. Yeah. It wasn't like one of the years where there's like 4 top players. I mean, obviously he would have still been the favourite, but I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just play. And then I had one last game before the tournament, and I was playing against Richard Bates, who's an international master, and he's someone that I have struggled against probably over the years. We tend to draw most of our games, but I'm actually probably like 200 points higher than him, but we still draw most of our games. I think because he was maybe a couple of years older than me as a child, so he kept a little bit that dominance over me over the years. And even now I'm clearly stronger than him. I still I drew with him the British this year.
In German there's a word for this, it's called Angstgegner. Yeah. Where you just have this, you cannot change it.
I just couldn't do it. Yeah, I just still don't beat. Even this year we drew in the British Championships that I was winning. And I just said to myself, look, if I beat him, then okay, that's it. The students are going to have to find another coach. I'm playing, so I was playing him, and we got to this quite levelish position as usual. Looked like it was heading towards a draw. So then I played this like quite risky continuation to try to win, because I had it in my mind. Okay, you got to win this game. And it got a bit wild, and then, to be honest, it ended up being a draw anyway, which was a bit of a shame. And John Spielman came to me after the game, and we were analysing. He goes, "It was very brave of you to play, to play this way." And I was thinking, well, you don't really realise what I had in my mind at the time. But anyway, it ended up being a draw, and I did the coaching, and that was probably when I was at my peak level.
Wow.
But it also depends who's playing, because I mean, when the top players all turn out, it's very hard to win. But other years have been more open. So, I mean, it's never easy. There's always grandmasters playing, but some years are harder than others. So,
at what point did you start doing Fritztrainers for ChessBase? Was that also around that time, or a bit earlier?
It might have been around. Yeah, it might have been around that time, I guess. Yeah.
And you had more students, obviously, I guess.
I was starting to build up students around that stage. Yeah. So.
And then it finally happened. It was just 2 years ago, if I say correctly.
That's right, yeah.
And you played the British Championship and you won it. Sealed. But wait, there was one last event. At one point you became a Grandmaster too.
That's right, yeah. That's going back a fair few years now.
Yeah. We have to go, we have to rewind a little bit, because that must have been probably one of the greatest moments chess-wise for you, I assume.
That was a big goal. Like I said, actually, when I started the job, I was actually about 2480 level, so I was quite high, and I had the norms already, and I wanted to get the title. Yeah. So I actually asked my employer at the time. I think I went to leave the job, and he asked me, why do I want to leave? And I didn't want to say to him, I find the work a bit boring, So I said I wanted to get my Grandmaster title. So, and he actually didn't want me to leave, which was nice of him at the time. And so he offered me a chance to have this 6-month kind of sabbatical to try to achieve the title. And like I said, my parents were quite keen on me to go back at the end of the 6 months. So, it did really focus me that I knew I had this window and I had to basically achieve the title within that period. Otherwise it's a bit of a disaster situation. You're going back and you haven't done it. So I basically just played. I tried to find, more or less anyone I could who would come with me and just go to as many chess tournaments as I could during that period. And I was just playing them back to back to try to, get the title. And but probably like the one of the most important ones wasn't actually the tournament which I achieved the title in. It was a first Saturday tournament that I played in Hungary, and it was a really strong all-play-all event. There was 12 rounds, a lot of players involved. And I think the average rating was around about my rating. It was close to 2,500. And I was, taking it seriously. I was preparing hard for the games, and it just wasn't going very well. I think I was over-preparing, and I was on 2 out of 8. And I remember at one point I came back, I was on 2 out, I was so upset. And I got the charger for my laptop, was on the bed, and I just pushed it off the bed. And then the charger broke, So I was like, oh no, this is even worse. So I had the laptop, but I only had about an hour of charge on it, and I had 4 games left to play. So I decided I was just going to do about 15 minutes for each opponent, and that was it. and then I actually won the last 4 games, so 4 in a row against top players. So maybe it was a bit of a sign that I was over preparing, and when I was forced to limit myself, I was able to play a lot better. It
was also a sign that time constraints give you superpowers, right?
Yeah, you got to just
6 month span. You have 15 minutes to prepare for everyone. Your focus mind is like probably superhuman strength or something like that.
Yeah, I mean definitely. I mean it's probably good, because actually if you're preparing even notes for a course, if you've got 6 months, you take your time preparing it. If you've got 2 days,
absolutely,
you cram on it. So actually having this kind of time constraint can be make you more productive. So that is a good thing.
That's a good life lesson. So as I said, you won the British Championship in 2021. 2022 was actually even let's say, stronger. You got half a point more, but it was only the second place after all. This year, let's just not talk about this. It just didn't work out. You'll come back stronger. I'm pretty sure about that. Now, just to end this interview with a couple of little more questions. What actually are you doing when you're not playing chess? Is there some hobby or some passion you have besides chess?
Well, I mean, I tend to find out I have too much free time. I sort of.
That's good. I wish I could say that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two daughters who I spend a lot of time with, so I just take them to school and help them with bits and pieces.
That's a lot to do, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite time consuming, and I know a few people in the local area. I mean, I quite like following sport.
Football, cricket.
Yeah, not so much cricket, but football.
Are you in a fantasy football league?
Unfortunately not. Magnus Carlsen's quite good at that. But,
that's what I heard. Yeah,
he's good.
It's like a chess player thing now.
Yeah, I know some, because I've been living in the same area for a long time, I know some people there, and obviously try and keep in contact with some of the chess players as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's just going by, but life always seems to be quite busy. So
yeah. So what you actually, I think I got it wrong. I thought you said have a lot of free time, but actually it's the opposite. You're actually super busy.
Yeah. There's normally just like things going on, things happening all the time, because you when you're doing these kind of work as well, it's like never ending. There's always. I mean, if you're teaching in a school, for example, you have to reply to all the parents, and you have to deal with the school, all the checks. Then there's individual lessons. There's your own study. There's there's always things to do. If you have a chess life, there's always something you can be doing. Preparing for courses for ChessBase, for example. But then,
which is super fun, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, your daughters, how old are they, if I may ask?
They're 11 and 8.
So they can play chess, I assume?
They can play. I haven't really pushed it, to be honest. The older one, she played one tournament. I think she got 4 out of 6. I think that was when she was under 8, but she doesn't really play. The younger one is probably more keen, I would say, but I don't really want to push them down that route. It sort of has to come from them, but also they got their own hobbies, their own interests. So I'd rather they just do the things which interest them and not the things which interest me. So if they showed an interest, I would have supported it, but I don't really have the strong feeling that they play with their friends and play in a school club, but it hasn't really progressed on to tournaments or anything like that.
Sounds healthy to me. So one last question. Tell us a bit about the future plans of yours. What is going to happen in 2024, 2025, and how do the next 5 years look like?
I'm not sure if much is going to change. I guess I'll just carry on doing, the lessons and just trying to get through life. In terms of playing chess, I have found that I haven't actually played a lot recently, and maybe that was one of the reasons I didn't do as well in the British this year. Is that it was actually the first tournament since I played the British last year.
Yeah, it's difficult.
But it's
to get
quite
back.
hard. Yeah, it's quite hard to sort of find the time to play long events. I tend to just stick to league games now because I quite like you play in an evening, and it doesn't really disrupt your week, but still is something. Or we have the 4NCL in England. I quite like the 4NCL weekends because it's...
What is that called, sorry?
So it's like the Bundesliga, probably, in England.
All right.
And all the teams get together. It's quite sort of good because you keep in contact with your people in the chess world, and you tend to go out to dinner with your teammates, and it's quite good sort of social side. And also playing over weekends, you can be kind of a bit more motivated to play. If you're playing 10 days, it's kind of quite a big effort, isn't it? So I like, but Probably when I was younger, I was happy, like I said, playing back-to-back tournaments. But now, I probably prefer just to play, a couple of games here and there, and keep my eye in that way rather than playing the big events that take up a lot of time and energy.
Okay, 2 more questions, quick questions, but it has to be asked. What is the chess book you recommend everyone to read?
Chess book? Well, I guess it depends really on the level. When I was younger, I read this. I think it's a Pandolfini's chess endgame book.
Pandolfini's. You're a very good endgame player. Very good.
I don't know about that, but I guess there's some books out there. I mean, we used to have the BCO2, which was like all the opening theory. I don't know if you remember that Batsford chess openings. It was a big, thick book, and it was probably, what you used to have to refer to before you have ChessBase. And you just open the book and you could, I think it was written by Gary Kasparov was involved and a couple of other, lower-rated grandmasters. And you read all the opening lines from there. So
charming.
That was good. Yeah, but it's nothing like ChessBase is nowadays.
Of all the Fritztrainers, besides the one which is coming out, your newest one, sooner or later, you will know, of course, at home, which of your Fritztrainers is the one you would recommend everyone to, you have to have that one?
I mean, I think they're all good ones, but the one which I would say I put the most effort into was the one on the French defence, which was actually my first one, because, I really put a lot of time into that one. I mean, I know there's another, Rustam has done a French DVD recently, French course, which is fantastic. But it recommends different lines, largely to the ones that I recommended. But it's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So you should have both of them and then compare and put them into your repertoire.
Well, I mean, actually, it is interesting because you don't have to play completely different openings. You can have different variations within an opening, and that sometimes cuts down a little bit on your workload, but at the same time means that you're not too predictable for the opponent. So I actually think that there's a lot to be said for playing more than one line within a certain opening and having a different response to each variation, or having maybe 2 or 3 responses to each variation, so that you vary that way, rather than having to play a different first move, for example, which requires a lot more work.
Nick, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to have this interview with you. I wish you all the best for the future. Thank you for putting so much great work into all your Fritztrainers and being a big part of ChessBase. We're always enjoying you being here and making such a great job.
No, it's a pleasure to come here, and glad I keep getting invited.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.